I'm Natalie Kennel, and I got two hats on today. I've got my I'm a president of a regulatory affairs consulting company, and so that's one hat. And then my other hat is I'm the current president of a volunteer organization called San Diego Regulatory Affairs Network. And so today's topic is to talk about how do you assess your regulatory affairs needs. So, just starting off, let me just tell you a little bit about me and SD-RAN. That's the Regulatory Affairs Network. And then I've got some notes in terms of kind of discussion. And then I want to hear from you guys in terms of, I want to have this be as interactive as we can.
And if we're doing it.
Well, and this is a hard thing. That's why I was like, I think this is a really useful exercise. So 2 minutes on me. I have had my own consulting company for just about 20 years. It'll be 20 years in August. And I worked at small and large companies before that. And I've done over 40 510Ks, countless other submissions. I've done submissions in Europe. I've done submissions in Singapore, WHO, several Asian countries. About 50% medical devices and in vitro diagnostics. And I've worked on all kinds of medical devices. But with most recently, and one of my biggest clients today is a women's health company. So that's kind of who I am. I'm an engineer by training.
Chemical?
I am a chemical engineer by training. Okay. Yep. And that's one of my points on here in terms of assessing your regulatory affairs folks. San Diego Regulatory Affairs Network is a volunteer organization here. It's been in place far longer than I've lived in San Diego. I lived in San Diego since 2000, and I've been a member since I moved out here, but it's been in place since the early 90s. And it's a volunteer organization, has mentoring, it has educational opportunities. We're offering a study group session again this summer for people wanting to study for their regulatory affairs certification. And we also have monthly programs. And the reason I bring this up there, most of them are virtual, so they're available for very inexpensive prices to people who are not necessarily regulatory affairs, and for if you already have regulatory affairs employees or consultants. Again, they can get on our mailing our mailing list. I'll get it. And they also may be of interest in terms of attending our study group, which is also very inexpensive because we are a nonprofit. So all of us are volunteering our time. That's who I am. And those are my two hats. Galina is my colleague from San Diego Regulatory Affairs Network. Do you want to give just an introduction in terms of say who you are? Or...
Oh, yes, for sure. My name is Galina Graham. I come from a software quality engineering background and passionate about women's health and getting more and more involved in regulatory affairs. So I'm really happy that I was able to get Natalie to come here, because it's going to be such a treat for everybody, and especially with your with so much experience you have in women's health. So thank you so much. Good to be here.
Okay, so when it looks like we have 4 people at least on the call, and then and Valerie. I don't know if anyone else wants to introduce themselves.
Yes.
I can introduce myself if you wish.
Go ahead.
So my name is Donald Hickey. I'm CEO of a startup out of the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland called Pump and Heart. And so it does what it says on the tin. We're developing a tiny implantable diastolic heart pump to treat heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, which is 50% of all heart failure cases. Twice as many women as men suffer from this type of heart failure. And so it's a completely unmet medical need. All that's on offer currently is a form of palliative care for these patients. So the patients do very badly with having a very grim and terminal prognosis. They will die very slowly, unfortunately, and they have to stay very still while they die. So it's a very it's a very big unmet medical need, and of course it costs everyone concerned a lot of money to manage and to maintain these patients. They're mostly elderly, over 65. 99% of HFpEF patients are over 65. The HFpEF is the short for heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, by the way. Um, and so it tends to cause a lot of costs to hospitals, and because of capped reimbursement, capped insurance schemes, and of course the clinicians are very frustrated that there's no therapy available to that. So
Okay, well,
that's who I am. That's what
thank
I'm
you.
doing.
That's wonderful, Donald. I just want to make sure that we have time to go through everybody, and you get you get your spiel practiced. So,
I can go next. Yeah.
yeah, Valerie's going to go next. Since she's here in person. You guys can't see her. She's on the other side of the table.
You can move the laptop around.
Okay, hi. My name is Valérie
Hi.
Leveillé. I'm from Montreal, Canada. I'm the CEO and founder of Next Plasmagen. Basically, Next Plasmagen, our mission is to use what we call cold plasma, which is an ionized gas, to kill cancer cell in tissue without any damage to the tissue. So where we are now, I'm a chemical engineer, PhD from McGill. I'm the engineer designer, and then I partner with people that know what to do with the cells and the human and the mice. Where we are, it's in safety trial right now, and this is a good roundtable because I have a plan for the regulatory approval. We started talking to the US FDA.
Yeah.
We are preparing the pre-sub,
Uh-huh.
and we have a strategy. This is where we are. That's why it's going to be very useful when you're there.
Yes. Great. Nice to meet you. And then who else do we have there? I can't read your name.
Diana Schaefer.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? So I am co-founder of MindSprings, and I have been a psychologist for more than 10 years and worked with a lot of trauma patients, and found two methods which are very fast working and making a very big impact in people's lives. And so my first path was training other therapists because I wanted to scale this. I wanted to have more people who could benefit from that. And then AI got very strong. And what I'm doing right now is creating an AI which is treating formative memories, which are related to symptoms we have right now. So as there is no FDA approval yet, I cannot call it trauma therapy. This would be the long-term goal. But right now it's finding out what events cause that you're suffering from symptoms like right now, like anxiety, like depression, like post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, work on those formative memories, de-escalate the emotions, and then the symptoms fade away.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. So that's great to hear. They just told us we only have 5 minutes. So
it's 20 minutes per roundtable.
So
basically it's
so I apologize, but why don't we just dive into this a little bit? I want to give you at least a few of my thoughts in terms of, so this is a very hard topic in terms of you're all at a place where you're looking at, maybe you have some regulatory affairs people already, maybe you're looking to hire someone, maybe you're looking to bring on a CRO or a consultant or contractors. And if you don't know what this is, if you're not a good consumer, if you will, it's very hard to assess when someone gives you a resume or a proposal or whatever to know what they are offering you. And so my first comment to you is that you as the CEO, the head of the project or whatever, you need to be a good consumer. You have to have some basic understanding of the regulatory processes so that you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to file your own submissions. You don't even have to be so knowledgeable that you're doing this job. But what you have to be is a good consumer to understand, is my product very novel? It's going to be very challenging. There's no predicate devices. If you're talking about in the US, it's a device. Or yeah, it's pretty similar to other products, but mine has this little tag. Why that matters is that's going to help you assess whether you need to have higher skill level people typically more expensive than versus whether you can have more lower skill level people or more junior people. So that's my first thing is that you need to be a good consumer. Why I mentioned the San Diego Regulatory Affairs Network is we offer these programs. Oftentimes we have topics that are of interest, and you don't have to be a regulatory affairs person to want to call in or participate. Second area is looking at what your company has in total in terms of resources, because what often happens is the regulatory affairs people often don't just do regulatory affairs because they find that a lot of startups come out of good ideas, people come out of academia. You don't have the expertise in working in a regulated industry in terms of other developing medical devices or other pharmaceuticals. So you don't have that expertise. So your R&D or your quality or clinical, these people don't have that expertise, or maybe you don't even have those people. And so what ends up happening is regulatory affairs ends up needing to help you with a lot of things.
2 more minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's my next suggestion is to assess what is the weaknesses in your
2
existing.
more minutes.
Okay. This is like speed dating, I guess. And then the next area that I would suggest, and I had some notes here. I'm going to ask if we can send them via email so you can just take a look at. Because one of the things that you want to do when you're talking to people is you want to look at what their background and experience, obviously, just like you would interview for anybody, similar product, size of the company, and so forth. But you also want to understand if they say they've got RAC or they have a certificate program or a master's degree in regulatory affairs, what does that actually mean? And these are things that are easy to find out, but you want to find out ahead of time so that when someone's telling you this, you can kind of assess it because they are good credentials. However, they don't necessarily mean that the person is a good fit. And so you want to be able to understand that. And so two other really important things that I always look at when I'm interviewing people, regardless if I'm looking for employees or consultants or both. One is that I often look for a kind of a mixture, because a lot of the times regulatory affairs is a feast and famine. We're doing a whole bunch of stuff. We're getting this submission and we're getting ready for a pre-sub. We're getting ready to file our 510K. We're getting ready to file our IDE. And then it goes in and there's this kind of a lull while we wait, while FDA or whatever cogitates on it for a while. So you often want to have consultants that can come in and do feast and famine, maybe one person that's more of an employee, kind of keeps the ball going on it even. The other one is you want people who are continuously learning. Anyone that tells you that they know everything they need to know, they obviously aren't going to work in this field because things change all the time. I'm very experienced. I've been doing this for 30 plus years. I just updated my slides for San Diego's regulatory affairs study group, and they're only 2 years old, and they wouldn't believe how many things have changed.
Hello, everyone. I'm not wearing my glasses, so I can't read your names on the on the screen, but I'll pull that up now. So we have 3 people in the room here with me. So we've got virtual and live in person. 15 minutes? Okay, thank you. So why don't I, since it does have my name on it, I'm going to bully pulpit this for just a second and just introduce myself. So Tom Darlington, entrepreneur. In this case, I'm representing a family office based in India, based in Mumbai, BVD Healthcare. So we invest more like a strategic venture than as really a family office, in that we're seasoned operators. We are looking for partners in the US doing diagnostic work, infectious disease, and fertility and women's health. Those are the verticals that we know really well in India. We have the ability to manufacture in India. We have the ability to distribute all of those things in India. And so we're operators really, starting to deploy capital, US and EU, and I'm, out here networking and meeting people to look to do those kind of investments. We're starting small relatively, so we're probably following, because again, we're all operators, not investors by by experience, which is a benefit and and a negative, I would say. There's
Continuous training, continuous.
yeah, absolutely. And actually, I just started a fellowship in investing with Material Change Institute. So that I think I'm, sort of learning by doing, learning by training, and learning by getting a better network. That's like fundamentally, that's right. Like
You throw an AI on top of that, continuous training.
oh my God, yeah, absolutely. Which I can talk at end about what it's doing for and against me right now. So anyway, that's me in a real short nutshell. You guys, anyone here, like feel free to reach out to me separately. Find me on LinkedIn. There's probably connections there, but I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. Happy to talk one-on-one because this is way too short to make a real connection.
Can we ask you questions?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Why don't we let you guys, I'm going to bias towards everyone who's online because it's easier we can talk during the session later. So do you guys online have any questions for me or the group? Oh, well, I think you're muted.
Yeah, hi. So I would like to get your contact because so that if I need to ask you more questions, then.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The easiest is probably Tom.Darlington at BVD Healthcare or at Blue Tide Bio. But you can find me
Okay.
on LinkedIn. I'm super easy to
Okay,
find.
sure. Yeah.
And I don't list the BV healthcare on my LinkedIn right now because
Mhm.
I'm trying to be proactive about finding investments, not listing myself as an investor so much. Like it's just a traffic, like I just don't have the bandwidth to manage it. So I'm afraid to announce
You're
it.
raising your fund, right?
We're not raising a fund. So the family exited, they sold a pharma company about 6 years ago. And so they're
The two entrepreneur from India, right? The vaccine I saw on the website.
BSV, yeah,
Yeah.
Bharat Serums and Vaccines. So yeah. So Bharat Daftari passed away 3 years ago. His son Sid Daftari he runs ADV. Runs the fund, and then he's got a team of. I mean, they're from the wealthy class of India who's been operating pharma companies for decades. And I think the goal is, and they're really savvy in India, and they operate in global networks and distributing diagnostic raw materials. And so it's really about taking that global perspective and starting to invest. And, they've got, I won't say how much capital, but they've got a lot. And I think starting with a small amount to invest in companies to, get their feet wet. And I think really it's about establishing relationships again, just like what I'm doing. It's, investing in other companies to try and have, what's a mutual win. Like I think we're smart capital. We're smart in some ways, naive in others. I'll fully admit that, right? Term sheets, we're not the best at how to operate a company. Yeah, we're okay, right? I've done that.
The most important part.
Right.
The most important part, you got it.
I think so.
This part.
I came, early on in my career, I went the science route. And so all of my friends from college that went the banker's route, they have a different perspective for sure.
Yeah.
So, and I've been acquired by private equity before, at a different company. So I know that I have, let me rephrase. I have one experience in having done that. I've been funded by VC in other companies. So like, you get one or two different touches, but again, everything's just different. Like every experience is different, and it's been over decades. So sorry, I'm totally rambling.
That's good.
But
Yeah, is there a question online?
Yeah, so I also have a question because I do have a student, like I know somebody who's just finished MBA in investments and they are looking for work in India. So
Okay.
my question is, do you have some opportunities for the youngsters?
That's a great question. So I don't control any of that myself, right? I'm sitting here on the ground here, and it's not, I'm more of an employee of the fund rather than the one in control. But send them in my direction. Happy to make a connection. Mahir Shah is the managing director of BVD Healthcare, which is the fund. It's a bigger umbrella company that has, it's tied into all of the operating companies that the Daftari family has in India. But he's here in the US fairly frequently. Is the student somebody here in the US, or are they based in
Yeah, so the students, a lot of students come here for doing MBA. So
Yeah.
they have finished the MBA in investments, and they are really looking for, where they can find a foot in the door. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I teach actually. So my job is I teach here at US.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a lecturer, but I'm trying to understand, where to put students and what are the opportunities where students can, work as intern or maybe work as a, yeah. So the student is here, they just graduated. And
Okay.
yeah,
No, I mean, I think that's interesting, and I think, I've the MCA fellowship too, which is an investor group that, you know, I think there's always more opportunities for unpaid internships, sadly. But it's the way to get your foot in the door, and I've talked to other people like hustle, hustle eventually gets rewarded. I don't know about the current climate. Like I'm kind of scared, to be honest. I don't know. It may take a long time of hustling, but that's for all, like it applies to all of us, not just kids out of school. But yeah, happy to, let's connect. Let's you and I talk one-on-one, and then, happy to get an introduction to that person.
thank you so much. Yeah, I really
No,
appreciate that.
no, I mean, this is what we're here for, right? So it's
Mhm.
about lifting each other up and helping
Mhm.
out. So
Yeah.
any other online questions? So
Hi, Tom. I have an online question, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
no, please.
So, I'm Donald Hickey. I'm a CEO of Pump and Heart, a startup out of the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay. Oh, you have. Excellent, excellent. Delighted you heard of us. Okay. So, is this what I'm trying to establish is where does a class three implantable, active device fit in this in the plans and in this community, really, and the Aquillius community.
That's a great question. I'm not the I'm not an Aquilius per se.
Okay.
But it's certainly, their engineering side is certainly very strong on that. So I think that's more of a me-fun question.
Okay. And what about BVD then? Is there any experience of BVD with that type of device?
No, I mean, we're looking more on the diagnostics and the
Sure.
fertility tools sides, and we're explicitly not doing hard things in the sort of implantable device or therapeutics, right? Like we owned a drug company. We got antibodies approved in India from scratch. We know what
Right.
that takes. We're not doing that right now. So,
Right.
sorry to be blunt about that,
No,
but
no, that's exactly
um,
what I wanted. That's the response I needed. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
no, absolutely. So, Valerie, you had something.
Well, good. The question was asked. Quick questions on that. Only diagnosis and fertility, so medical device that treat cancer with
Probably,
ionized gas.
probably not. If it was on the diagnostic or critical care front, no.
Yeah.
The other one is like I am also happy, like send me your deck. Like I'm talking to a lot of other investors and I'm trying to be a good student of this and share with people that do have good opportunities where there is money. So, that's my whole purpose this week. Like bio is not like to be totally frank for BVD healthcare, bio is not our conference, right?
I'm not bio like radiation therapy.
Right.
This is hard stuff.
Yeah.
Us, it's a pencil that creates a plasma jet, ionized gas.
Yeah.
Very, very active, and they kill cancer cell in the tissue. But it's a pencil.
Got it. So it's like a surgical tool?
It's a surgical tool, but that create ionized gas or a jet of reactive species instead of energy or radiation.
I'm
So
super
much
curious.
safer.
Like yeah.
But we still go through ND. We're gonna have to go through a de novo. It's not a 510K. So there's still clinical trial involved.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
medical device. So it's a bit of a
No, it is. It is. It is. And
pitch deck anyway, and you see. So if
No.
pitch deck, do you invest in Canada? Because I'm from Montreal. Do you
No.
invest in Canada or just US?
We have no objections to Canada. I mean, realistically, I don't see us investing in that, but that doesn't mean I don't have connections with that. And do you know CDL, Creative Disruption Labs?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's just a very strong presence in Canada. And I was just at I was at the Toronto conference a couple weeks ago. But like this feels like right up the alley of that group. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
yeah. But I'm also super curious about.
With the deck, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's great. It's at the frontier of the biotech. And it's not a molecule. And it's not a
Yeah.
medical device.
Right.
Got it.
So it's just in the middle.
In the middle.
And you're French Canadian, I'm
Yeah.
assuming? Okay. I'm like just picking up on.
Chemical engineer. So
Right. So you know how to actually get things done.
I build the product, exactly.
Right.
And I plan everything. It's just I need the surgeons and the radio oncologists around to do the work.
Right.
And they tell me if they like it or not. You know, that's the big thing. They tell me what's wrong, what's right, and we correct the design so that they can.
Well, and like that's the only thing that you should be listening to right now, right? Like
client.
this is
Yeah.
well,
Wait.
yeah, it's product market fit, right? Like I don't care if you're a chemical engineer with a great idea and nobody wants to use it, you don't have a business. Like sorry, like I'm just like
That's why
I know you know
my
that.
device is in the house of the user. It's in the hospital. If they pass in front of it all the time,
Yeah.
so they use it. So the idea, yeah, you have one chance, right? It's
Yeah.
cost so much to develop a medical device.
Right.
Put it in the hand right of the user, and they tell you everything they don't want to see in the next version. You know.
Yeah. I wonder if you can do just so the barrier to doing testing on animals like pets that had cancer on this feels like it's super duper low because
It's easy to do. 3 months, we have done 3 models.
Yeah.
Models already. You have to buy the
Yeah.
mice and all that.
right. But
Are you
even
saying maybe short.
no, I'm saying short. Like I feel like you could get some sort of like, compassionate use exemption for pets.
For pets.
For pets.
Okay,
Because
the application for pets.
and I'm thinking about that, like I don't know what it costs to build your instrument, but you'll learn you'll learn so much about how it works and how surgeons and veterinary surgeons are surgeons and they're just as like probably just as discerning and they're working across species. So it's even, like I sometimes have more respect for them because they're doing a lot of hard things. So like just like
Yeah,
I'm just
challenges.
thinking about like because the only thing that's going to make any business successful is delivering a product that people will actually buy. And if you're developing it without getting those people involved early on, then you're speculating and your chances of success.
You have
go down.
1 minute left.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm just on my little lecture about what
Okay,
matters.
That's why my users are my clients. So they're the one who drive the clinical trial and they're the one buying it. The radio-oncologist wants to reduce radiotherapy dosage if they can throw in plasma at the same time because it's the same effect.
Right.
So imagine if radiotherapy dosage can be reduced.
That'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I saw that there was a veterinarian that actually specifically cancer for animals, I will
Yeah.
give you that information.
Billion.
Billion, yes, I
Yeah.
will give you that information now that you mentioned pets. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
And that's specifically what his sign said, a cancer veterinarian, so.
Yeah.
And woman, mice, breast
Yes.
cancer.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes,
To stay in the team, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean yeah. This sharing my thoughts maybe overly so, but
So really quickly, since you're wrapping up, how is India on cannabis?
I have absolutely no idea.
Then that was a good question.
Yeah.
We're done.
But it's something I should ask.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sunny.
Love to, I'll introduce
Yeah, we have 20 minutes.
Minutes.
As you can see,
Okay.
it goes fast.
Sami Rahman. I'm permanently based out of Southern California, Orange County. I'm an angel investor. So I would usually write the first checks. Small check sizes, 20 to 50,000 US dollars. I've been industry agnostic and invested in South Asia and the Middle East. That's helped me see the digital divide between an advanced economy, such in North America, Europe versus the rest of the world.
When you say rest of the world.
Asia,
mm,
Middle East and
Mid-
Asia, these two geographies. I've invested directly into startups in Bangladesh and the Middle East. started as an LP. And then within the within the healthcare space, the two startups that come to mind are Altibi and Proximi. And both of them have really used digital health or focused on digital health. So what's helped, one of the main positives in the Middle East is homogeneity in terms of language that connects the greater Middle East. So having doctors who can advise or guide locally trained doctors in, say, war-torn countries in Syria or countries caught in the midst of geopolitical tensions, how do you get access to qualified practitioners? So most of the solutions are really focused on digital health and startups that have been able to scale. In terms of challenges or issues I've seen founders face, obviously raising capital is a huge challenge. And I've often experienced or seen where founders are, when they're raising when they're raising capital from angel investors, not having an SPV and not having a clean cap table early on. And what that often, some of the mishaps or challenges it poses for the founders down the line is either it's contributed or caused dilution. So you've given away a significant chunk of your startup knowingly or unknowingly. Are you even motivated, or to what degree are you motivated? What would an exit strategy look like for even the startup investors? And the biggest challenge from that point on is now how do you attract VC and institutional capital who would have a lot more both leverage and access to more specific guidance, and whether it's with say the Ministry of Health in Saudi Arabia or more specialized, how can they be a strategic partner, which is what you would need after you get beyond or after the after the angel stage. Yeah. Would love to
have a roundtable. Yeah, have a team online.
Sure. Hi everyone. So I hope that was a brief introduction, but would love to get who's on the call. And I see mine's Dr. Diana. Perhaps if you want to go, and then I see Kamala's online and Donald Hickey as well.
My name is Dr. Diana Schaefer. I'm a psychologist, and I have been working on an AI which is resolving the impact of formative memories like trauma, which are having still effect in everyday's life, like sleeping disorders, anxiety, things like this. We have a beta prototype right now. We are in pre-seed phase, and my goal is to help a lot of people, which I cannot serve in my private practice because it's either too expensive or people don't have access, or it's just because a lot of psychologists do not know all those methods I've been researching for the last 10 years, which are working very, very fast in therapy.
I'm Kamala Janiani, and I teach actually. My background is sciences, biological sciences, and I teach at a college undergraduate students. So my purpose of attending this meeting is to know how the students can get involved. You know, there are a lot of students who are looking to get into startups, and what are the courses? I'm like, is there anything we can teach them or we can guide them so that they can find jobs in the present economy?
Amalia, which subjects do you have?
I teach all biology subjects like molecular biology, genetics, biotechnology, life sciences, in general, biology. Especially, I teach molecular biology and biotechnology. So, and I teach a lot of labs, like hands-on work. And these are undergraduates who, after 4 years of degree, they need to know, whether they want to do masters or PhD or, yeah.
Kamal, a quick question. Where are you based out of?
I'm here in San Diego.
San Diego. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, the two that come to mind, or the one that comes to mind is Y Combinator, generally reaching out. And they have Y Combinator School. The Y Combinators, there's the Y Combinator School. I know David Kalakins also has a program for both angel investing, but also for founders, specifically for founders, where he goes through the basics in terms of pitch deck presentations, having clean data rooms so that if investors ask about, who's your co-founder, what's their experience, what's your go-to market strategy, all of that. So Y Combinator and Jason Kalakis's Angels. I'm forgetting the exact name of the program. I know it was Angel School, but if you look up Jason Kalakis, I think you'll
Jason, what's the second word you said? Jason?
CAL. Let me just look it up on my phone 1 second. I don't want to give you the wrong.
Actually, for Y Combinator, they also have a YouTube channel where they are publishing more or less everything what they're teaching at their startup school.
Kalakis, so CALACANIS. It's called Founder University.
Oh, okay.
Founder.university.
And is it like a degree or something? Or
No, it's a
no?
12 here. It's a 12-week pre-accelerator program.
Okay.
And to Dr. Diana's point, yeah, Y Combinator, they have a lot of content on YouTube.
So my another question was that do you also train them? Like, so let's say there is a student who wants to join you and help you, to learn investing. Do you take masters or like MBAs also?
Personally, I don't. So
No?
I'm an
Okay.
individual, a private investor. But I think what's really helped is both I have nothing against MBA programs, but I just feel like people who have invested and been through the grunt and hardships of raising capital and being a startup founder, very different skills versus say an MBA program where you have chunks of, marketing, organizational leadership.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing that the students, when they come out of MBA, they don't know which field to get into, so a lot of times.
Yeah, I guess MBAs cover so much stuff, It's not the same as trying to commit to one thing, and it's all education. It's like education doesn't always help. Sometimes it just introduces a lot more doubt. Not that education isn't a good thing, but you have to be a believer if you're a startup.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
complete believer, And so, I mean, I was interested. You talked earlier about the different phases of fundraising, and I've been through several startups, and I've had one reasonably successful company that was became commercial. But right now, I'm doing another startup, spin out from the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, and so actually we are, without sounding too blunt, I suppose we are taking investments of 25K to ticket sizes from angel investors right now.
We have 5 minutes left.
And so I'd be
5 minutes.
interested. I'd like to send you something on LinkedIn, and if you're interested,
Sure.
set up a meeting.
I did,
Okay?
and I read your bio, Donald. So I was trying to Dr. Diana's name I don't see, and a lot of people's names I don't see. So I'd love to connect with everyone actually.
Okay.
But yeah, especially I mean, chronic heart disease is huge in all parts of the world. So we'd love
Correct.
to learn about
Yeah.
your work. Yeah.
Yeah. And the half of heart failure cases that we're addressing, it's a completely unmet medical need. That is what's called heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, or HFpEF for short. Anyway, I'll send you
Quick
something on
question.
LinkedIn
Yeah,
and you can see it.
yeah.
Okay.
Quick question, Donald. Since I mean the focus is on women's healthcare, and I'm sorry, like for not even addressing like the elephant or the main thing in the room, healthcare. What would you say? What I'd like to know is how is it being thus far up until this
We
point?
have 4 minutes and a
Well,
half left.
it's palliative care. By the way, this is effectively women's heart failure because
Right.
twice as many women suffer from this type of heart failure compared to men. It's down to the nature of how heart disease develops. In men, there is a tendency for it to develop from the coronary artery, and in women, it's more the microvasculature in the heart. So you get, but that's still a theory. That's not proven. But certainly, HFpEF is demonstrably and clearly twice as many women impacted by that compared to men. So it is a women's health issue. And of course, it's the one type of heart failure that's not addressed. Anyway, we have to get out of this room now, don't we? Well, I don't go anywhere. I just stay here, and everybody else joins me. That's what happens.
Yeah, we have a few minutes, so yeah. And for
Yeah.
everyone in the room, we have a beautiful panel here as well. I'm gonna turn the
We're
camera.
the same panel because we stay all together here in this room, So it's the panelists
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I
you
see.
can-
Well, hello. I haven't seen.
You can see
I
it.
haven't met you two yet. What are your names?
I am Jillian Xavier.
Valérie Léveillé.
Oh, right. Okay. I know you. I heard the story from Toronto. You're the lady from Toronto on my left, and on the right, are you a presenter as well?
Yeah, I think I'm a presenter. Are you gonna present today?
No, I'm not presenting today.
Somebody else presenting? The lady with the black glasses, Yeah,
Okay.
so-
Well, please. We have a few minutes. Could you introduce yourself, then?
So I'm Jillian Xavier. I am researching cannabis, the cannabinoids in cannabis, specifically for women's health as it interact with the endocannabinoid system. I came from opening a cannabis testing lab in the city of Long Beach and decided that it was a low score to just test for consumption. I wanted to do something that would be able to help women. My sister suffers from fibromyalgia, and I always make her different things, but there's no consistency. So I'm an incubee here at Aquillius, and yeah. that's what I
Okay.
do.
Well, that sounds really fascinating.
Yeah.
Quickly, Valérie Léveillé, I'm a founder and CEO of Next Plasmagen. We're based in Montreal, Canada. And we basically develop, I co-invented a tool that has an applicator that generates a plasma jet, so a jet of ionized gas. And when we apply that to tissue, living tissue, we kill cancer cell within the tissue without affecting the tissue. No thermal damage, no desiccations and all that. And the whole point is to reduce cancer recurrence. And our big application now is breast cancer, especially for high-risk patients. We're in safety trial at the moment.
Okay, very interesting. And actually, there's a very strong correlation between, breast cancer and HFpEF actually, because very often the radiotherapy, damages women's heart in such a way.
And I'm working with 2 radiation oncologists at the CHUM in Montreal, and both of them want to use the plasma
Right.
with external beam radiation to reduce the dosage. So they're very
Right.
interested to see if they can reduce toxicity and the secondary effect. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm very interested to know more. And okay, well, thank you very much.
Did you, Elaine?
Oh, I'm Elaine. I'm not affiliated with any company.
1 minute left. 1 minute left.
Very much. My background is in operations in the biotech industry.
So as we have a minute left, what I'd love to do is connect with everyone on LinkedIn and learn more about your startups or businesses and how I can, whether it's myself as an individual or angel investor and perhaps an early stage investor, or connecting you to people and folks in my network potentially, because one of the things that I see is having traveled and invested in a few places outside the US, a lot of the solution, women's healthcare challenges, these are global in nature, and if the solutions are scalable beyond markets in the US, I'd love to connect founders with scouts of funds or GPs that whom I know in the Middle East. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Fouquier, and I am a data scientist, bioinformatician. Let's see, my undergrad is in microbiology. Then I switched to bioinformatics. I have a master's in bioinformatics, and then my PhD is also in bioinformatics, computational bioscience. And so today I just want to kind of have a little bit of a casual talk because everyone gets stressed when they hear data. And so I've always been really passionate about kind of keeping it fun and, easygoing. I want people to come to me when they have questions because it's intimidating, it's complicated. And so I just like to keep it casual. So, can you guys raise your hand? Who has data that they're analyzing? Can you guys raise your hand online? Anyone? Yeah? No? They're analyzing, or like they have at their company, maybe they have data. Okay, cool. You guys.
Data.
You do? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone. Yeah.
We don't know how to
Yeah,
analyze
you
it,
do.
but we have data.
They don't know how to analyze. Okay, so that was
No,
kind of
we know how to,
yeah,
but-
no,
yeah.
it's okay. No, I don't. So kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about was one thing I recently learned from one of my friends. She is working at a biostatistics core up at Stanford. And one of the policies, and I think this was just such a good take home, was that they will not analyze your data at the end unless you spoke to them in the beginning. And so that's just because we need to start thinking about power design and study design right from the beginning. Because what happens, so since I'm more of a bioinformatician, so I kind of have a blend. So the difference between your statistician would be the statistician is focused more on statistics, true, analysis, study design. They do analyze the data, but it's very focused on analysis and statistics. Whereas a bioinformatician is your blend, right? So we do computer science, biology, and statistics. So we're kind of more spread thin. And a lot of times we're more responsible for developing new ways to look. So I kind of am more the creative, the algorithm developer, something strange or weird with your data, you might want to talk to us. So does that kind of make sense? Everyone's kind of understanding that. So I really like that they force people to talk to them early on in the beginning. And I think that's super important because that just brings me to how I want to make it, bring it back. If you have problems in your data set, it will trickle down so much. And just for example, yeah.
The data set, preclinical trial, clinical trial, any data set you're referring to?
Any data set, yeah, upstream. Something simple, my best analogy or example is a highlighted row.
Mhm.
If it's light yellow, maybe that tells me doesn't look that urgent, but if it's neon fluorescent red,
You know that there's a problem.
then what you do to your your bioinformatician, we're freaking out because we're very analytical, right? So you have me processing, oh my gosh, I can't do anything with this data until I figure out what that is, right? Or I'm worried about, maybe I could start making my analysis with that in mind. But I think it really does add this extra layer of stress for us. And then we start to wonder what that meant, right? If there's other questions, other issues. So I think just one thing I'll have people do there is anytime you want to add weird things, bolding, highlighting, italics, underline, think about what that means downstream. So just kind of start thinking about that as soon as possible. If it's highlighted, I get it. We all have our spreadsheets. But if you want to highlight, what you could do is think about that. What does that mean? Leave them out, right? So you could make another column that says leave them out or leave out, right? And then you could put yes in that row, right? So that you're going to exclude that person's or that sample, right? So just kind of thinking about ways to reorganize your data that would be less confusing downstream. Synonyms for things, as something as simple as, I don't know, 16S rRNA, right? There's so many ways you could say that, but when you spell it two different ways, that's a different variable, right? So 16 lowercase s versus 16 capital S, that's a different thing to me with code. So making sure that you have everything consistent will really help people. And then also, let's see, with how you're disseminating your data. So another good practice is making folders in a shared drive, right? So if you're going to have the home of data, no emails. Everyone, we need to stop.
I agree.
Yeah, it needs to have a little home, a space to put it in. That way you know where the data is. If it gets updated, you send an email to everyone. You say, I fixed this error. I got rid of the highlight because Jen said she doesn't want the highlighted or she's getting confused about it. It meant something, right? Have a home for it. Because those things will cause a lot of problems. And then, yeah, I was going to go around and do some intros. I don't know if it's going to be very easy.
But just for me to
Yes, yeah,
situate
good
a
question.
I know a statistician, I will hire one to do my statistic of my clinical trial. I did it for my first one. But then a bioinformatician, I never thought about that. It's the first time I'm hearing. So are you consultant that we hire when needed to design the clinical trial and then help with the analysis of the data? Like where do you come in the
Yeah, so
process of the company?
So if you're trying to figure out things, if you have more creative questions, or if you're working with big data, a lot of times bioinformatics, people will work bigger data sets. Or if you have interesting analytic challenges that kind of involves a level of kind of algorithm development or creative, because a lot of us are doing novel stuff, right? So you want someone that kind of has that training on how to apply coming up with these new methods. A lot of times that would maybe be more of a bioinformatics specialist. But if it's more of your statistical analysis, that's more of a statistician. It's
So
a lot of
when do we hire a consultant like you? At the design of the clinical trial or when it's time to analyze data?
It depends on your data. So another thing that I think people should pay attention to is challenges and problems with their data, right? Because that's what I developed for my PhD. I wrote a software tool that it's called Explana, explana.io. I have an analysis gallery online. It finds key drivers of scientific outcomes. And so it can be qualitative or quantitative data. So it was a big challenge. We had different, like a pill. If you have 3 different types of pills, medications, people will kind of recode that when you're working with all this data. That would be 1, 2, 3. Well, that doesn't really mean anything, right? So I wanted to find a way to work with categorical data too, so to treat them differently. But when you're working with all these different variables and you're trying to find what variables relate to your outcome of interest, you want to do that early on because sometimes you can find problems early on. And so then you might want to talk to people that are more versed in like exploratory or thinking about things in different ways. So you might want to work with someone early on, not just at the end. So I think potentially talking to bioinformaticians early on and later, even if you don't have it in your budget to have a full-time,
Right.
make sure to prioritize them both depending on how much data you have, right? If your statistician thinks they can handle the amount of data you have, then maybe that's all you need in the beginning. But I think talking to different people early is really helpful because I have found really strange problems working with people's data and they
We
just
have 5 minutes left on this round. 5 minutes.
they say, they'll say, or I'll say, did you know that there was this one example was I had a data set. They were looking at a bunch of different microbiome data from different countries, it was, I think, oral microbiome. And I said, why did this country only have women in this? They only gave data from women. And he goes, oh, I didn't even know that. Because you'll find these weird patterns that just if you don't go through and say, hey, I want to make sure everyone provided.
You have to plan the analysis.
Yeah. you wouldn't know that that's not, so you have these weird questions you're trying to ask. So that's where I think exploratory analysis can be helpful early on. It's kind of one of those things you don't just want to wait till the end, right? So there's different things. And so I think talking to experts in the beginning is helpful and at the end.
So it even go be earlier than the clinical trial, in the preclinical trial. Let's say we're developing biomarkers and we're trying to see a signal that is different from a treatment case versus the control.
Yeah.
Bioinformation, are you often higher at the preclinical trial level to try to develop methods of analyzing a treatment?
I haven't personally done that, but I imagine they would probably want to be involved too. Yeah. I usually get data at the end is kind of more where I'm used to coming from, but that's why I wanted to make sure that, you talk to them in the beginning, because a lot of times I don't have data that is very good at the end, right? So that's kind of just what I wanted people to start thinking of, how much time it can actually, I mean, these things can waste hours, days, weeks. And then it turns out I don't have a certain variable that I need that could have been collected all along, right?
What about AI?
What about AI? I think AI is very helpful and should be used as a supplement to using traditional statistical methods. Yeah.
I agree.
And so I think because you can't publish with saying, well, Claude told me this was important, right? And so,
But with the AI, you
yeah.
can say, I want you to tell me exactly the methodology you're going to be using. Give me all the method,
Yeah,
all the
yes.
references. Give me all the errors or the statistic. Show me the
I
data
think-
and then show me the limitation. And then he explained to you how he did everything.
Yeah, I think it can be very, very helpful for that. I use it a lot for that too, but I still think that there's plenty of times when I've found errors. It will give me an analytic plan, and then there's problems with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you
and it-
correct it easily after and it save you time? Or
It
now
can
you
save
have to
me
redo
time.
it?
Yeah, it can save me time, but I think there's still times when I realize, okay, it gave me this whole plan, but then if I'm analyzing this data, now I've completely ruined my ability to compare to a different analysis, right? So those are the things that I think a human would just, you can't possibly give the AI tools enough of the information for it to fully understand the big picture. So I don't think we should be replaced.
No,
Yeah,
how
no,
that
I'm
is
just-
how you use it in your practice. Is that
Yeah,
how
yeah.
you use it? Do you see it useful?
I think it's good as a supplement, but I still make sure that I can read all of the code that it gives me and that I understand what it's doing. And that I think is going to be a problem in the future because people are not going to be able to know how to read the scripts that they're getting.
You gotta be really careful with that, yeah.
Exactly.
And
And
even if giving away everything to AI, you'll start to forget how to spell things and how.
You
because
will, yeah.
You're doing everything over there, yeah.
so even though I could move a lot faster now that there are these tools, I still try to make sure that I can read every line.
It's exactly what
Yeah.
exactly what to do. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I think that's something to be careful with people if they're not able to understand. And if they are moving too fast, I tell people, I say, I need more time to understand this. Because if they're rushing me, right? They're saying, well, we have a meeting.
We have 1 minute left, 1 minute
just-
left, and then
Give
we'll
them enough
rotate
time.
again.
Don't pressure your bioinformaticians and your statisticians just because they're getting
It can
these.
take a day to analyze a problem. And
Yeah, but if you're not giving them the time that they need to really interpret it and understand and explain, then you can't keep doing that to us. That's kind of these are some of the points that I wanted to make because I think that is happening, right? People are expecting me to just plow through data, but then if I am just getting to a point where I'm saying I cannot do this anymore.
And why you
Because-
call a bioinformatician? Is it because you've done mathematics in the sphere of the medical and bio? Is it what it is? You've been exposed to the life science with your mathematics?
It's a combination of biology, data science, computer science, and statistics. And so we're more of
So you understand the language of the health science, so
the
that you know when you analyze
languages,
data.
tools,
Okay.
a blend. And so that's where it can get stressful because I'm not the best at either of those, right? It's a blend. but you do need someone that understands that for different applications, right?
Hi, everyone. This is the biggest roundtable I've had so far. I've had new ones before. Like, welcome to my roundtable. My name is Kimberly Chu. I guess I was hoping we can go around in a circle. I am a regulatory and healthcare attorney, specializing in FDA and DEA regulations, clinical trials, and that sort of thing. But I used to be a scientist. So I was a scientist for about 15, 16 years. I was on the Human Genome Project for about 6 to 7 years before going into biotech, and I used to be part of GeneLogic, which back in the day made a whole bunch of money, and I wasn't part of that because I didn't cash out like I should have. But then after that, I did join several smaller biotechs that all kind of like, we had money, then we burned through it, that sort of thing. So I'm very familiar with the idea and the struggle of trying to do a fundraise and also trying to increase your patent portfolio in order to do the fundraise and that whole cycle and thinking through risks and I just love working with everyone that's in the drug development and device development ecosystem, but especially with emerging and small biotech. So it's a pleasure to be here. So I'm hoping we can go maybe in a circle. Sure.
Heather Callahan, I'm the CEO of Allender Biotech. We're developing a topical protein therapeutic for the treatment of oral mucositis, and we're just about to start our first clinical trial. And we talk to regulatory folks all the time. I've never quite, and I'm part of my background is I'm also an attorney. I've never figured out what the regulatory attorneys do versus the regulatory advisors. So I'm fascinated to understand more about that part of it.
Interesting.
Hi, I'm Aquillius. I'm a medical device engineer. I'm currently working at a startup at VivoNexus as kind of a quality consultant, but I'll be going into UCLA Biodesign, so kind of probably gonna end up really deep in the startup world in the next year or so. So just getting back into it.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Renee Williams. I'm founder of PsychoLife, and we are building a private women's health device. We believe that women shouldn't have to get support in the compromise their personal data.
Hi, I'm Sharon Bletcher. I'm starting a company in women's health. We're doing longitudinal immune profiling in women's health. So through hormonal phases and diseases that affect mostly women.
That's ambitious.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lane Kilon. I'm not affiliated with any company. Just an operations leader that supports a lot of small biotech companies.
In which area you're supporting?
Biotech and an operation.
Yeah, an operation.
Yeah.
Oh, all operation with okay.
Pretty much, yeah. So whatever it's not, the stuff that's very specific, not scientific and all that stuff, it's like that's easy.
I'm Valérie Léveillé. I'm the CEO and founder of the company Next Plasmagen. We develop a medical device that has an applicator that generates an ionized gas that kills cancer cell in the living tissue. So the whole point is to reduce cancer recurrence, and we're in safety trial. We have 6 patients treated. So far, so good.
Nice.
And we are in regulatory process. We're preparing the pre-sub for the US FDA.
Nice.
I am Julian Xavier. I'm the founder of Drago Biosciences. I am researching cannabis, and the cannabinoids in cannabis as it interact with the ECS system in the cannabinoid system, specifically for women's health. My first focus is on fibromyalgia.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so there are folks on the line. I'm not sure if I can see everyone.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
Diana,
go
do you want to
ahead.
go ahead first?
Yes, I would love to. My name is Dr. Diana Schaefer. I am psychologist and co-founder of MindSprings. We create a product which is helping people to get over their psychological symptoms by working on the formative memories with methods which are coming from trauma therapy and make a big change in a very short amount of time, which means the AI is creating the AI, which looks like me and speaks like me, creates with the patient a trainings plan, a workout plan, where they're working on the formative memories which are leading to the symptoms they have right now by using those trauma therapy methods to make a big change in their lives. in very short amount of time. We are pre-seed right now, and I will also pitch later on.
Excellent.
Hi, my name is Donald Hickey. I am CEO and co-founder of Pump and Heart. We're developing a tiny little pump about the size of a AAA battery, or even half that size, and it's implanted in the left ventricle or across the mitral annulus in the heart to reduce left atrial pressures, so that people can, patients who have been diagnosed with heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, that is also known as diastolic heart failure, can, after a short procedure in a cath lab, instead of dying, return home to lead long and healthy lives with their families. This type of heart failure affects twice as many women as men, so it's very important from the point of view of women's heart disease.
Interesting. I can't see anyone. Kamala, did you want to go next? Okay, everyone else I think is still on mute. Okay, I think that's, if anyone, okay, I think everyone else is still
Yeah, you've got it covered.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I didn't want to miss out. It's fascinating what everyone is doing. It's kind of hard for me to know exactly. I work with smaller groups out there, so to talk about something that might be of interest to everyone. Everyone, it sounds like they're in either early stage, maybe phase 1 or completed phase 1, or thinking about still doing some preclinical studies. Is that kind of correct? And that sort of thing. And so you are everyone's in the United States. You're also in the United States?
Canada, so I have to deal with Health Canada.
Okay, you're doing Health Canada, but you're also interested in FDA.
But my first market is USA.
USA. Oh, okay.
Canada
I see.
is as an opportunistic way, but my first cell will not be in Canada.
I
Even
see.
though I'm in Canada.
So your phase 1 was in Canada, or is in?
It's in
Okay,
Canada.
it was in Canada. Okay, and you're hoping to do a phase 2.
Pivotal trial in US.
I see.
Exactly.
I see. Yeah, that does seem to be more of the strategy nowadays. Is to do the phase 1 somewhere else, and then
So quickly, it's a de novo, so it's not a 510K. So
okay, it's a de
it's
novo. Okay.
And just quickly, because people have probably each a question on the regulatory. For me, it's more question 1 is how come the US FDA is so slow now? Is there a reason? Is it going to get worse? I don't know. Question. And the second one is the de novo path. For me, I'm thinking about a pivotal trial for quick efficacy results, get a commercial product, and then expand to another trial for the holy grail of the cancer recurrence reduction.
Okay, so start with a smaller indication.
Does this make sense to you just out of the pocket right now, out of your mind?
Oh, with that overall strategy, start with a smaller indication and then going to I think that does, depending on like what your burn rate is and so forth. In terms of your larger question about the regulatory agency being slow, I have heard that across the board. But not only just the regulatory agency, but grant funding, for instance, is incredibly slow from what I heard from clients and industry leaders. And I don't know if it's going to get better. There's a lot of turmoil within the US FDA, and
their funding is affected, so that slowed down the service.
No, I would say the structure of the FDA has changed quite a bit since the Trump administration took over. And so it does seem that the turmoil has really affected that agency. It seems I've heard, and I'm sure this is not news, but there's been a lot of reporting about that. There's more political influence at the agency now more than ever. So there are lots of things that are moving. There's a great interest in the agency to move forward with AI-related tools in order to speed up, because the idea is to speed up and make it less expensive, right? So speed up the clinical trials so that I can get to patients faster, right? That's the overall messaging. But what they're utilizing for that are things like AI. So the first thing that they mentioned was they announced around May, June of 2025, ELSA, which is their AI platform that's used to help facilitate, these workflows so that the FDA the idea is that the reviewer would come to decisions faster because all the data would be much easier to be AI enabled assisted. But then more recently, about a month ago, they announced the Halo as well as Elsa 4.0. They kind of sort of skipped right over. I didn't hear about Elsa 2.0 or 3.0. Went from Elsa to Elsa 4.0. So that was just announced about 4 to 6 weeks ago. And Halo, just so everyone knows, is basically everyone realizes the FDA has a lot of divisions, right? So basically what Halo did is they took the workflows that are usually siloed in by the 40 different divisions, and they put it into a single platform called Halo. That Halo is supposed to feed into Elsa. And what's also going on is that Elsa,
What's Elsa?
Elsa is the name of their AI tool that the FDA uses.
Analyze faster the data.
It's supposed, yeah,
Their
it's
decision-making process.
correct. Yes. But so that was announced last year. But now Elsa 4.0 has been announced, and they have things like for Elsa 4.0, they have an AI agent that apparently each reviewer can build. There's not a whole lot we know about that as a public. So this is all things that are released by public releases from the agency. So there's not a lot known, which is a little bit scary because traditionally I think, yes, everyone wants everything to be quicker, but not the sacrifice of not knowing exactly what if you don't get it? What if you don't get the approval you want? You're working so hard for an approval to show that your product is safe and efficacious, and you come out with a negative. You come out that, oh, someone said no. Well, I think, and I've been counseling this with my clients, is you don't have to take no one wants to take an adversarial stance with the agency, but you are well within your right to request things like, what version of Elsa did you use? What are you using an AI agent?
Okay,
and
we
then
have 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left.
Okay, maybe I should also hand these out too. But it's just one of those things that there's so much happening at the agency right now. This is just a checklist. I don't know. These are handouts of some of my work if anyone's interested. So this one is more focused on AI, and anyone that's online, if you email me or find me somehow, then I would be happy to email you these handouts I have. But there's a lot to be considered, like in terms of tagging your own submission to the FDA. That this is a trade secret. They're under an obligation to keep it trade secret. And this is just for the future, just because, we have such limited time.
No, it's good because
That's different. Yeah. Oh.
Do you?
Oh, sorry. About, she asked about the regulatory to the neighbors advisor.
Oh, so generally speaking, they only hire me when it's too expensive to have a regulatory affairs person handle it. So when things get sticky. So usually enforcement issues or adverse event that happens, and you need to figure out, okay, I need some representation because I need to figure out what is it I have to, for instance, I had a client who was, I apologize if you heard this, but I have a client who basically was the clinical trial site, and they accidentally, not through any fault of any healthcare practitioner, gave about 4 or 5 of their patients like 3 times the dose. And it ended up being an ER build. So I mean, at the electronic health record, EHR health record, those IT folks put in the wrong formulation so that's where that actually stemmed from. By the time they brought me in was when the sponsor, they had been dealing with this for months already, thinking they're going to do it on their own. And they needed to know how much of it, they're getting down to the nitty gritty where they said, who is it on your team that did this? And so then you start talking about liability. No one wants liability on their own. That's usually when I get brought in, things like that. Or like, FDA inspections, FDA letters that come in.
More serious.
Yeah, it tends to be like that. If it's more like IND submissions or anything having to do with like your Bayesian statistics, if you're doing your own, that's another person. But
can you offer a startup discount?
I do offer flat fees for certain types of, and I could be happy to talk to you about that for sure, because there are lots of needed. I talked to my firm about that. I'm like, we need to offer a flat fee service for some of these.
The beginning for the startup.
Yeah.
And then we can pay you better.
Yeah. No, exactly. So I can definitely, if you email me, which I have cards. I don't know if anyone wants a card, but
not that I think I'm going to be liability soon.
No, this is just like, just in case. I don't know if anyone else wants a card, like feel free, but I'm really thankful for everyone listening. I would love to talk to anyone afterwards. I know we're on a time crunch right now, but yeah.
What's that written in regulatory affair? More into like
So I handle more compliance and litigation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. So behind the bench, right? Building a biotech community through execution, capital, and my favorite topic, community. But I'm going to replace that with ecosystem today because it's something I really preach and I love. So imagine, if you will.
Okay, everyone, it is the last round table. So the 15 minutes starts now.
Thank you. All right. So imagine two startups, all right, whether they're in biotech, biologic, software, whatever, right? They both have brilliant scientists, both have groundbreaking technology, both have patents, both are trying to solve something meaningful that could potentially save lives or better humanity. Sorry, I have my notes here, all right? But let's fast forward that a couple of years now in the future, all right? One company's thriving, they've raised capital, they've hired an exceptional team, they've entered, clinical trials or getting ready to, or maybe they're actually preparing for commercialization. The other, they're struggling to hire, struggling to raise money, right? Struggling to do anything. And now they're coming to the end of the runway. What happened? Was one science, or product better than the other? Maybe.
Are you going to show the answer by turning your screen?
Nope. Often more not, it wasn't the science, but it was everything actually around the science. And that's kind of what we're going to take a dive into here today, all right? Which is those three topics. So one of the things I've actually learned from working with startups is that innovation does not happen in isolation. It happens with, always talking to people, right?
Yeah.
Even though the science is incredibly important, all right? It is the foundation, all right? But building a successful company requires something much bigger. It requires execution, relationships. It requires commercialization. It requires people, and most importantly, requires an ecosystem. Would you agree, Jillian?
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
I second. Yeah.
Thank you. So there are founders here. We've got scientists, investors, operators. I have service providers. And each one of you guys and each one of them, they all see through a different lens, all right, or a different point of view. And so everybody always has something to offer, which is great because I'm hoping that, as I ask some questions, keep the answer short, please, because I know we're on limited time. But I'm hoping that we can actually peel back some layers and actually learn from each other today. So first question I'm going to ask you guys is, when you think back to your own company or companies that you've worked with, what was the first major obstacle after proving the science? Crystal.
People, I need people.
Okay.
Connection to people that can bring you to the next level of funding or manufacturing or whatever is needed.
Okay. Jillian?
I agree. Definitely connection with people and funding. Not having that ecosystem is kind of tough.
It's the scale up. Sometimes it's just, you prove the science at the small, beginning, but then scale up becomes, there's a problem there.
Okay. Kamala? You're muted.
Yeah, I don't have a startup, but I would again think it could be the people only.
Okay. Donald? Oh, you're muted, sir. Still muted. He's still talking, which is great. Yeah, he's still talking. It's great. All right. So, it's all good, right? It could be funding, it could be regulatory, it could be hiring, finding customers, building a team, a lot of things, right? One thing I've noticed is that many founders believe that once the technology works, everything else kind of falls into place, right? Like dominoes. We all know that that's not how it works. Success is not linear. All right. It is just god awful messy. And now you're wearing 10 to 17 different hats, more hats than you have personalities, if you're like me. All right. And you're no longer that scientist or engineer. You're becoming the CEO, right? You're becoming a recruiter, a fundraiser, a marketer,
Human resources.
Yes, HR, and sometimes even, the worst of the worst, the IT department, right? No one likes doing that.
The bookkeeper.
And yes, and that is an enormous transition for anybody. All right, enough to where it's like you sometimes want to throw in the towel and cry, why did I do this, right? I've wasted a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and I've let down people. All right, and this is where it kind of brings me to that next topic, capital. Everybody talks about funding, everybody talks about money, and it's kind of almost become the scorecard for startups. We've all heard the questions. How much did you get? What was your valuation? Who's investing in you? All right. And those are great questions. They are. But I think there's actually a more interesting question that should be asked. What do investors actually invest in? Is it the technology? Maybe. Is it the intellectual property? Sometimes. But I would actually argue that investors, they invest in confidence. Confidence that your team can execute. Confidence that that there's a market. Confidence that the customer actually needs this solution. Confidence that the founders can navigate uncertainty, because no investor literally is going to go, stuff is going to go according to plan. I can see it right now, right? They expect everyone to sit there and adapt, right? Handle the stuff that's actually going to get, thrown at them. So, let's keep in mind and answer short. For those of you who guys have raised capital, what do you think investors were really buying? Was it your technology or something bigger?
Well, they look at the three people, so you basically alone, and the product and the market. But at the end of the day, you say if you're 100 confident, I know pitch that I was super confident, I got a result, other that I had a hard morning or hard night, and I was not pitching as I should, and I didn't get the money. So confidence is something big, and I think for women, I know we're all confident, but when it's time to pitch, especially engineers, we don't say anything beyond what is exactly what the product do.
Yeah.
We don't make people dream, because we say they're gonna know, where we're so sharp, we know exactly what we don't the dream. We don't make them dream.
Yeah. You're not putting up, you're not letting them share that imagination, that magic, right?
Yeah.
So I've talked to a lot of founders who've actually had some incredible science stuff that just literally just wows you to death, and you want to jump in and be a part of it. But they've actually had no commercialization strategy at all. And I've talked to other founders who have just had technology that wasn't really revolutionary, but they've understood the customer. They've understood reimbursement. They understood partnerships, and they really understood execution. And they were actually able to move faster. Says something, right? Which leads me to something that I think gets overlooked a lot, but we already touched on it earlier. Ecosystem. And if you have an ecosystem, you could literally move faster than anybody in the room. All right. So what is the most valuable asset for a startup? I know most people are going to say money.
Ecosystem.
Networking. I like it. All right. But I'm convinced, relationships often create long before capital does. All right. Ecosystem. All right. How many partnerships started with a casual conversation?
That's true.
Great opportunity, came from a phone call. How many investors were introduced to you by somebody else?
Yep.
How many hires did you get through your network?
Big time.
How many strategic collaborations happened just because you were at an event and you sat down to some random person, or just somebody sitting next to you on the airplane, that you just, didn't want to, be alone. You just wanted to talk to somebody just to talk. Innovation ecosystems exist for a reason, right? And no one builds a successful company entirely on their own, unless you're Elon Musk, and you take credit for everything you do. No,
but it's true.
Look, hey, he makes the money. I'll let him pat himself on the, on his own back.
But he has the ecosystem underneath that does everything that his mind is set up to.
So one of the privileges I actually have by being here and being the hub manager of Aquillius is I get to watch companies interact every day. And if you know who we are, you know that we are not an incubator, an accelerator, we're an innovation hub. So we cover everything from biologics to med tech to production, 3D printing, plus also AI software, you name it, I have it in here. All right. And so some of those biggest breakthroughs, they're not happening in the laboratory. They're literally actually happening in my kitchen as people drink coffee. I've literally watched, some of the founders crack beers open at 2 o'clock in the afternoon just because they want to relax a little bit, cut loose and stop thinking. And the next thing you know, it's like they're talking to another founder and they literally actually, were able to break through a brick wall that they were actually having inside the lab, which was, I actually thought was actually very, marvelous. So sometimes, those co-founders can actually help solve each other's problems. And sometimes it's just putting on our ears and listening and you might actually be able to say, hey, I've actually solved that. So, and sometimes it could be from an introduction that you actually had and now leads to a partnership, 6 months down the road. Every one of those things actually has tremendous value. So, question for you guys, has there ever been a relationship, a mentor, a incubator or accelerator, or maybe an advisor or simply another founder that it's actually had a outsized impact on your company's journey or your life?
I would say, yeah.
I know, put you on the
I'm pretty
spot.
sure, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there has been, but,
Okay, so I'm gonna follow that up with another question. If you could go back to the day you started your company, knowing what you know now, what's one thing you would do differently? All right, and I'll give you some choices. Would you hire differently? Or maybe would you raise earlier? Or would you spend more time talking to customers before you started building your product? Or maybe finding mentors soon.
mentors.
Okay. Would you worry less about perfection and more about momentum and speed?
Yeah, perfection is, I think, is a dream killer, I would say. And, I have analysis paralysis quite often. And so momentum is definitely would be better for an entrepreneur.
Okay. I like that. Thank you. So whether in business or life, and I truly try to actually embrace this a little bit more, is that especially with actually having kids that are like totally type A like their mom, is that success is rarely
Type B?
I am actually, yes, I'm more like type L. I'm lazy. Success rarely is all about having all the answers. It's more about asking better questions. All right. And so it's who can help me or who can help us? Who has already done this before that I need to talk to? What assumptions am I making that I shouldn't be? And, am I really selling something that is needed out there in the world? And lastly, it's who do I want sitting next to me on this journey? All right. As I go through, this down this path, because my dad always told me this, it's you become who you associate yourself with in life, and I choose to surround myself around, inventors and co-founders and scientists and, operators, shakers and movers, that's who I want around me. All right. So as we wrap this up, because I think we have like maybe 5 minutes left, is I'd like everyone to answer one final question for me. And I mean everyone, all right, and try to keep it down to like one sentence. What's one thing founders consistently underestimate? I'll go first, all right, just because I can. I think people underestimate the value of a community because communities are great. It does not replace great science. It doesn't, but it accelerates everything else. Because without it, I always tell people, our community and our ecosystem can actually get you from 0 to 100, and we'll do it at your pace. I need for my pitch.
Yeah, I would say the same thing too for me. Building out a cannabis testing lab on my own last 3 years and transitioning into Aquillius my pace is faster than it has ever been in the last 3 years when it, comes to meeting investors, meeting community, talking to doctors like her, and just being able to interact with people who understand your insanity, what you're trying to bring to the market and what you're trying to do. So I would say ecosystem.
You've been very quiet.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just kind of what she's saying, just make a decision. I think people underestimate like how much time can be lost and how, I don't know, like reduced gains you'll have if you don't just keep moving forward, even if it's not the right decision, make that decision like to go forward. Yeah.
Crystal?
So for me, I would say a diverse ecosystem because I'm clinical. I have only ever been clinical until recently. And so there's the regulatory compliance issues, the IT, and so having somebody and not making assumptions for me.
How about you, ma'am?
Sorry that my eyes.
Oh, that's fine. I can turn on the lights if you want. I'll set the mood real nice.
Well, it's the last meeting. For me, it's really mentorship because when I slip into imposter syndrome, having a clear, strong mentor to get me out of that is essential for me.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, so our time is up.
Roundtables are officially done.
Science creates
We're
innovation,
gonna take a quick
but people create
break,
successful companies.
and we'll
Thank
be
you
back
for actually
soon with a
sitting down.
keynote speaker.
And I hope you guys actually try to carry on this conversation well outside this table, all right? Because it's like, I think it's actually very important topics, all right? And I think the more we talk about stuff like this, the better we can actually still keep learning.
All right.